on, Reggie, give us Mother 3!
Right?
So that's
E3
it
is
for
over.
press conferences. E3 is effectively over. We have to go to E3 now. It's going to open in an hour and a half.
Well, my flight leaves in like 3 hours. So catch you guys on Friday.
Yeah. So that's it for press conferences. We didn't go to any of them, but I don't know that we missed anything.
I think actually, in one way, I thought, oh, this will be less exhausting. I actually think it was way more exhausting to do what we knew how we did
I don't
it.
know. I feel less exhausted.
Well, yeah, it was less physically draining because there's less of like running from place to place, like trying to get cabs all the time, wait in line, and then sit for 3 hours. But there was a weird like sensory deprivation thing going on in this room.
But yeah, now we're heading off to the show here in a little bit to see stuff. We're opening with Nintendo.
You guys are seeing wrestling.
I will be seeing, and Jeff will be seeing wrestling.
We will see wrestling.
There's an ID at Xbox thing.
Okay. We're gonna go play Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
So
Right.
So today's the day.
Yeah.
Are you actually gonna play it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
That's yes, supposedly. But yeah. And Ubisoft is today, so Far Cry 4, Mortal Kombat, all just going tonight.
Yeah, we saw some Far Cry 4 last night. Looks a lot like Far Cry 3.
Great. Okay. Sold.
They were just letting people take over like a base, like a fortress, like a little side mission thing.
That's kind of a hard game to show, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. Like it was, it had the grappling hook was in there, but it was very much like tag guys as you sneak around the base and then start fucking shit up. There was a mortar. When you jumped on the mortar, it would go to just a pulled out overhead view where you could move the thing around and like drop a big firebomb, and also all the like thatched roof huts in this place were susceptible to their like fire system. That's cool. So all the houses caught on fire.
Yeah, I was wondering if they would get away from that stuff at all, given the like cold climate. That's cool.
Yeah, so we'll see a bunch of games, then we'll come back here tonight to yell over the PlayStation Latin America press conference that was apparently overlapping with our first hour, where we've got Paul Merlucky and a bunch of other guests lined up. So, should be a hell of a show. So, yeah, we're going to do that stuff. See ya.
They've got a good variety here. I mean, you got just the standard kind of smaller cases, but then, you get something a little bit larger. They can hold a 2DS, they can hold a 3DS, they can hold a 3DS XL. I mean, that type of versatility is what I expect from the Hello Kitty brand.
Amiibo.
So I just had a chance to actually play some of the new Nintendo games that we just saw this morning, including, of course, the first thing I'm going to do is track down this new Yoshi game, even though I have this battered relationship with Yoshi games after Yoshi's Island. But I'm cautiously optimistic about this one. The yarn stuff looks fantastic in action. It's really gorgeous. There are all these tiny little details, like when Yoshi starts to run after he's walked for a little bit, his legs turn into little wheels, and then when you do sort of a fluttery jump, he kind of gets a little helicopter on his head. So there's a lot of really subtle nuance going along with Yoshi as a character. And the big problem with the recent 3DS Yoshi game was that there was just nothing happening in the stages. They were very sparse, had no imagination. It felt like a studio going through the motions, trying to make a Yoshi's Island game by checkbox design, as opposed to, man, we really want to make a new Yoshi game. And this one takes elements of Yoshi's Island, doesn't copy it wholesale. There are collectible elements, but they're changing which ones you're collecting, how many you're collecting. There's sort of a score element where you're trying to grab all these little different particles throughout the levels. It feels like a Yoshi game that Nintendo actually wants to make, as opposed to a Yoshi game they're making just to make another one. So, other than the fact that it looks incredible, it actually plays really, really well. And I also got Kirby's whatever Canvas Curse 2, the Curse of the Canvas, whatever they are calling the new one. And immediately, just like Yoshi, the visuals are astounding, and they look just really, really good. It's a claymation style. It looks very handcrafted, but this one, obviously, because it's claymation, like even it's more handcrafted than the Yarn, if that's like a way to describe a video game visual style. And although I only got to play one stage, if you played Canvas Curse, the general idea is that you're not directly controlling Kirby, you're tapping Kirby to kind of spin him up and move him forward, and then you're also drawing lines along the screen in order to get him where he's going. And it's just a different way to play Kirby. You're not acquiring powers in the same way. I can't even remember if Canvas Curse had the power mechanic or not, but it looks gorgeous. It's a ton of fun to play, and the Canvas Curse is this cult 3DS, well, I guess original DS game that Nintendo put out at launch. It was one of the best uses of the touchscreen in terms of taking, hey, we have this existing franchise, what can we do with it with this new technology that Nintendo is often very bad at doing with the rest of their franchises. So it's weird that it's taken this long for Kirby to come back, but both Kirby and Yoshi, I know it's kind of like the Sonic cycle, but I'm really excited for both of them, and I'd really love it if there was a good Yoshi game so I could shove it in Jeff's face. So fingers crossed.
All right, so we're here at the Nintendo booth as well. It's not just Patrick and his weird Yoshi fetish. We're in here seeing some games as well. Actually, Miyamoto's over there. I think they're probably showing Star Fox right now.
Miyamoto desu. Konnichiwa.
But we're back in this separate area seeing some games.
Yeah, Conan O'Brien was in here when we got here.
I just want to make sure it's part of my wardrobe. So.
Huh. Well, while he was doing that, I was playing damn video games.
Yeah.
We played some Smash Brothers.
Yep.
What do you think of Smash Brothers?
It's Smash Brothers.
Yeah. I think it plays like Smash Brothers. I
played that gangster from Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
he was killing it.
Yeah, I played as Little Mac. I punched stuff. He had an upward punch that was go up, a rising punch, if you will, a dragon punch, if you will,
an uppercut.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I played Mario Maker. The version they're showing is really early. They're not really talking too much about it, but I don't know. It's got a ton of potential, but I'm also kind of worried because the demo levels they had built in were really small. It was like 5 screen widths long or something like that. They didn't have all the tools in place, and they're not necessarily adhering 100% to like original Super Mario Brothers with the look. Like when you spawn, you're invincible for a couple of seconds. Like you blink in, so that was weird.
Weird. That is kind of strange. Well, you probably have to account for people making like game-breaking level design and stuff, right?
I want to be able to make game-breaking level design, Like, I want it as real and original as it gets. I want to decorate the scenery and stuff. So, I mean, it's not out till next year, and what they're showing is, like, super limited. Like, they were even just like, we're not really talking about the ability to string levels together. Like, you can't go in pipes at this point, but you have to imagine they'll get there. Yeah. So, there's a lot of like, oh, yeah, you can't do that yet, but, Mario Maker is even a working title, so, it's what they're showing is really early, but it's got a lot of potential, I guess. What else do you see? You saw Bayonetta 2.
Yeah, that plays really well. I mean, it's a character action game. It's very combo based, but super fluid. I thought it looked pretty good. Like the scale was pretty impressive for running on the Wii U.
Yeah, I think
giant city environment. And
I thought it looked great. It's one of those things you look at it, you go like, man, if this was running at a higher resolution, that'd be really cool. If it looked a little better, but I think it looks really nice for what it is. Yeah,
it's still sharp, plays really well. It's totally dumb.
Yeah, exactly. It's nonsense. It's big hair dragons.
Very blue in here all of a sudden.
Yeah, she was pretty naked. And then Patrick's playing Hyrule Warriors, which I don't know that I would recommend. But what do you think of Splatoon?
That plays well. I'm not really sold on the tilt aiming yet.
So the thing they didn't tell you is that if you tap the upper left of the touch screen, it turns off the tilt controls.
Two different people just said that you couldn't do that.
You totally can.
Man, all right. Well, now I like that game.
Yeah, I turned it off halfway through. When you turn off the tilt controls, it controls like a shooter. It plays pretty well. I like the idea a lot.
I really like how snappy it is to like get into the squid form because that lets you move faster on your painted surfaces, and like sometimes you'll have to hop between puddles of paint, but you get around really fast like that.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty neat. Like overall, I mean, this is probably for unconventional reasons, but I think that this is probably one of Nintendo's best showings in a long time. Totally. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. I think there'll be some pretty cool Wii U stuff over the next year or so.
Yeah, and that's not even to mention like the kind of stuff further out that they showed this morning.
Yeah.
Zelda and that stuff. So
Hyrule Warriors isn't that bad. It seems kind of fun and goofy.
Okay, Hyrule Warriors isn't that bad. Seems kind of fun and goofy. That's the final word from Nintendo. And now let's go somewhere else.
Omima.
Good job, guys. Yeah.
All right, so here I am at Ubisoft. We split up to check out a couple of games. Brad saw Far Cry last night, had good things to say. I came back to play Rainbow Six Siege, which is their newly announced game. And it's pretty awesome. It was definitely one of those things that stood out at the press conference pretty well. You know, they walked through a demo. They kind of showed us the gameplay mechanics of both sides. I mean, obviously there's attack and defense. And it starts out with a first round where the attackers are all piloting drones and the defenders are all putting, barricading windows and barricading walls and reinforcing doors and stuff. Then it goes into the action phase where you have to keep people from getting in the house, getting the hostage and getting out, or you have to get in, breach all the walls. You're setting up charges on walls and blowing them all up, and it's kind of awesome. You're taking shotguns and just blowing holes through walls, then looking through to see if there's anybody over there. It's got friendly fire, so it's relatively serious. You have to kind of be careful. It's round based, no respawn or anything like that. So again, kind of inspires you to take it a little seriously, but it looks awesome. Like the destruction that you get out of it looked pretty great. Just breaching walls, taking shotgun blasts, poking through walls that way, stuff like that. I thought was pretty impressive. They're saying I asked a guy what's it running on. He said it was like the Assassin's Creed engine. But it's such a reduced environment, all that other stuff. Like it seems like they're able to get away with a lot more than they are with obviously the huge world of Assassin's Creed. So. Super impressive 5v5 shooter, class based. So, if you have a class that have a shotgun and he'll be able to throw down barbed wire, or you'll have guys that have breach grenades and stuff like that. Overall, I came away from it pretty impressed. Definitely one of the things that was a surprise at the show. I mean, as much as a first-person shooter can be surprising in this day and age, I guess, but still enjoyed it. So, I'd take a look at that. It's coming out next year.
Thank you.
All right, so we're back here. It's actually the end of the day. We did a little bit of time warp there. After I saw Rainbow Six Siege, we went and saw some other stuff. Ubisoft ended up not being as many games as we thought. The Division was not playable, so we figured we've seen enough demos of that.
There's loads of them.
You played Far Cry, and
You're fucked.
I checked out Assassin's Creed Unity. It looks gorgeous. Like the world detail is spectacular. The number of NPCs they were quoting there's 1,500 in that demo just gathering around. They're shooting for 5,000. We'll see how that goes in the end, but 1,500 was already a lot. So it was the same demo they showed at the press conference. But they clarified a few things, like the fact that apparently missions are broken up into single player and co-op, but both are tied to the story. So you can do the co-op missions on your own, but apparently they're really hard if you try to do it that way. So the onus is to try and get other friends in to play with you.
yeah, that's tricky. I don't know. That's,
also, it's the Brotherhood team apparently making that game.
Okay.
So a lot of the creative...
Encouraging.
Yeah, it's a lot of the creative people
that.
that worked on that one are working on that game, so...
Yeah, then after that, Alex and I went and saw 2K to check out WWE 2K15. They weren't really showing the game. It was just kind of a top level, like, hey, here's what we're doing, more of a presentation. They showed some character models, which I thought looked better.
Yes.
Old Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, they showed the next-gen John Cena,
Beard.
and his face
Next-gen John Cena.
Just as weird as you would hope that next-gen John Cena would.
Next-gen AJ Lee.
They showed his facial expressions.
Yeah, that was
terrifying.
really good. There was just like a... It was like model of a polygonal face freaking out. Just.
So Visual Concepts is doing, well, it sounds like all the character art for that game. They're scanning like all the current roster, all that stuff.
Yeah, using kind of what they do for basketball, which is a great looking game. So yeah, we'll get a better looking wrestling game.
Yeah, they said they're trying to apply those principles to the commentary to try and make that better.
Yeah,
didn't really have much to say about gameplay or anything.
They did say that they were looking to like change it
what sounded like pretty dramatically.
Yes.
So hopefully that'll pan out.
Yeah.
But yeah, not really much to say about that.
No, not yet.
And then you went off to Nintendo for an interview?
I did, yeah. I talked to Onuma and the guys that are making Hyrule Warriors, and
which you said this morning.
Hyrule Warriors isn't that bad. It seems kind of fun and goofy.
All right.
It's not bad. I mean, it's a Dynasty Warriors game, but it's.
I think as of a few minutes ago, he has now progressed to fine.
Yeah. Like I don't hate it.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
really want to play it.
in, it's fine.
Yeah. Like it was ultimately disappointing. That's what my interview was about. But they were all really nice guys, and it was actually interesting. The couple of questions I got in with Onuma about, like instead of talking about the new game, I kind of talk around it and try and get to an answer that way. And one of the ones was he alluded to like one of the bigger problems he has internally is that a lot of the younger team members working on Zelda games have very specific ideas of what a Zelda game should be, and that he claims to when he wants to change things maybe a little more drastically, he gets a lot of pushback from the team because that's not what a Zelda game is. So a lot of what he's been doing over the last couple of years, the way he explained it was
firing those motherfuckers.
But you can imagine people that grew up playing Zelda, then you get to design a Zelda, are you going to be the guy that changes Zelda? So he said it was kind
to
of
be fair, he's not actually firing those motherfuckers, right?
Yeah,
no, just one or two. So it was kind of interesting, and he said that he alluded to one of the things he's learned from working on Hyrule Warriors was the idea of when you're in one place, lots of other things are happening in real time that you can't necessarily get to, or you don't necessarily get to address. That's kind of the concept of Dynasty Warriors. Is there all these battles happening on the map? Is what if Zelda did more stuff like that, but then didn't play like Dynasty Warriors?
Yeah, that's a big F at that point. So yeah, that sounds kind of cool. And then Brad, what did you go off and see anything after Ubisoft?
I went to what was described as an ID at Xbox meeting, which I thought I was like, Chris Charlotte would be in there showing some stuff.
A malevolent god.
Instead, it was 2 games I have never heard of before.
All right.
One from an Italian team, one from I believe a Polish team. And they were there showing them on laptops.
Okay. So super early stuff.
Yeah, ran into some tech problems, so we didn't even get the full half hour.
Oh,
but
all right.
one of them is called Nero. That's the one from Italy. It's like first person, it's like surreal, dreamy, kind of it's exploration-based adventure game.
Yeah.
And the creative director was talking about how important the story is, and he was like, at the end of this game, a big thing is going to happen, and some people will not be able to comprehend it. I was like, what are you trying to? You saying I'm not going to understand your game?
Yeah.
If I'm not the right kind of person? It was weird, grandiose.
Boordish pig, you won't understand.
I don't know.
It's fine,
Yeah. The other one's called Get Even. Actually, it's from the Farm 51, which I can't remember what they've made, but aren't they? I feel like they made something super crazy.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was. Anyway, that's a cyber detective.
Okay. All right.
They're scanning rooms and turning those into the levels. That looked kind of interesting. They're going in old warehouses and just doing 3D scans of the room.
Weird.
Pouring that in as the level the map. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. And then we went to Warner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw Mortal Kombat.
Where we played Mortal Kombat X.
You mean 10?
X.
Which means 10.
Which is means we interviewed Ed Boon. That was the first question I asked him. Okay, this is the 10th Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, unbelievable.
How do you pronounce the name of the new game?
The official title is X, Mortal Kombat X.
Oh, thanks for spending some time with us. All right, we'll see you. All right, so there's plenty more where that came from. You should check out the interview with Ed. He goes into a lot of details about the story and how parts of it are set 25 years after the events of the last game. It's got the child of Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade in it.
Cassie Cage.
Cassie Cage, which is a good name. It's a good name.
There's a move she does where she takes 2 guns and she cracks the butts against a dude's skull.
That game is fucking brutal. It may be the craziest fatalities they've done. At one point, I think you will like the fatalities in this game as a horror fan.
Yeah, there's some real unpleasant body horror.
At one point,
type
a
stuff.
sword is used to cut a man's face off.
Yeah.
And then
face.
The front of the face
off.
And through the head, just from here back,
and then
slides off. and then you fall down, and like the brain sort of slides out of the
Slides out a
cranial
little
cavity,
bit.
and the tongue
Is
what's
kind of
left
wagging.
the tongue.
Wagging.
His tongue is the most powerful weapon.
Brain's kind of moving the tongue. And it just sits there on that screen. That's like the push a button to select a new fighter screen. So
Yeah.
it just sits there forever if you let it.
Tongue just twitching.
There is also one with the crazy Aztec-looking dude that is just a move out of Apocalypto, where he just rips the dude's heart out and then just drinks his blood from the heart, which is pretty rad.
Yeah, it's that game is crazy. It's got 4 new. The build has 4 new characters, 2 old characters in it. Yeah, it sounds interesting. Check out the interview for more. We get some footage of it in there too, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, anything else at Warner? I mean, we already talked about Middle Earth.
Yeah, played it real fast. I was kind of surprised at how slowly it moves.
Very slowly.
The default walk speed is like a very
Yeah, they
kind
want
of
you to get
amble.
on a mount. Yeah.
You're very mobile, even when you're on a mount. Like your like weird wolf thing will just like jump right up a cliff and keep going.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I thought that game looked pretty cool when I saw it. Did you see anything else today?
I also ended up messing around with PlayStation Now. They had like a little setup for there with Street Fighter, which I didn't get a chance to mess with, but they had like Ground Zeroes running on a Vita, and then the most recent Ratchet and Clank DLC game, which I can't remember what it was called, but they had that running on PlayStation 4 and Dead Space 3. So I played all of those just to kind of mess with them. Obviously, it's in like an ideal environment.
Right.
So hard to know how that's going to be in my own setup. They were just like handing out beta codes like candy. So that might be NDA'd, and you might not be able to talk about that, but at least I'll be able to see it in my home setup soon. It works. You can play all those games just fine.
Yeah.
The only thing that is kind of a bummer is, especially in the higher fidelity games, like the compression is incredibly obvious. Not like you're getting blotchy pixels all over the place.
It's a little blurry.
It's blurry.
Yeah.
And so actually, I was able to play Ratchet and Clank on a PS4 on a big HD TV, and then also on a Vita. So the Vita one loses the two other trigger buttons, but like because it scales down, it looks more or less like you're just playing the game on a smaller screen. So
Yeah.
I feel like Vita might be the way to experience that stuff.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. That pretty much wraps up the day. Now we got to head over to our night show. We got a big array of guests. It's going to be equal parts exhilarating and a train wreck. So hopefully you'll check that out. See you tomorrow.
Amiibo.